$50 billion on this dopey mistake of buying DirecTV. Now, they didn't just buy DirecTV. They also bought what they renamed into Warner Media, and that's a whole other separate business. But they spent $67.1 billion cash to buy DirecTV. Obviously, they thought it would work out well, and, it didn't. And what's interesting about it is it's a big company. This is not the kind of thing they should screw up. So I did a video about this a couple of months back at the end of August, because that was when they were first talking about selling DirecTV. And at the time, the word on the street was, like in the articles, they were talking about, well, they're talking to these different companies about selling AT&T's DirecTV for $20 billion. And I was like, $20 billion? But they didn't mention, because there's $18 billion at AT&T. So AT&T spent $49 billion in cash and another $18 billion in assumed debt. So they agreed to take over the debt that DirecTV had of $18 billion. So a couple months ago, they were talking about it, and they were like, well, they're probably going to sell it for a value of like $20 billion. But I assumed they at least would have put the debt along with it. Because in my video, I was suggesting, well, they probably will lose $29 billion on that deal, which is outrageous. They should not be just losing $29 billion like it's nothing. They only bought DirecTV in 2014. But it's much worse than $29 billion. In this article, this guy's suggesting it might be $50 billion. It looks like it's going to be at least $50 billion. It's really, really crazy. All right, let's get into the article. Before we do, if you want to support my work, I really appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications so you find out when I do new videos. Big help. I appreciate that. So this is coming from Motley Fool. They give the basics pretty well. When AT&T announced that it would acquire DirecTV in 2014, it was initially billed as a way to create, quote, a unique new competitor with unprecedented capabilities in mobility, video, and broadband services. Now that's an idea. That's not a vision. That's an idea. Okay. However, that acquisition hasn't played out well. AT&T spent $67.1 billion in total, including absorbing DirecTV's net debt load, while the transaction pegged DirecTV's equity value at $48.5 billion. So, when I say that that's an idea, not a vision, a vision is something that, like, an entrepreneurial person, like a Jeff Bezos, a Steve Jobs, Jason Kilar is heading up HBO Max. It's not going fantastic, but it's going pretty good so far. He's a visionary. He was one of the guys that started Hulu. So, and a difference between an idea and a vision is if you have a manager who really understands what the potential idea is and can turn that into a passion, a drive, a purpose of like, hey, we're going to pull this off. We're going to create a new competitor with unprecedented capabilities in mobility and video and broadband services. That as an idea is fine, but you've got to have someone who's going to kind of shape that idea into reality. They don't have that. They never did have that. So now they're going to lose $50 billion because they're going to sell finally DirecTV, which is not even part of their Warner Media division. That's got its own problems now. Just try to get the thing off of their books, off of their financials. The purchase was poorly timed as cord cutting has continued unabated in the years since. AT&T has been bleeding out video customers, including 4.5 million over the past year. They've lost 7 million since 2018. 7 million. A little over a year ago, activist investor Elliott Management quietly accumulated a stake, criticized the DirecTV acquisition for occurring, quote, at the absolute peak of the linear TV market, they're right about that, and called for AT&T to divest the botched purchase in order to eliminate distractions and focus on the core business. The thing with DirecTV too is they're losing so much in the way of customers. They're losing so many customers so quickly that if it takes them another 6 months or a year to sell the damn thing, how many customers are they going to have left? They have something like 18 million now. They'll probably have who knows? Maybe they lose 5 million more. Maybe they only lose 3. Maybe they lose 9 million more. That's going to hurt them even worse. Okay. Ma Bell's reportedly approaching a deal to sell off DirecTV, taking a massive hit in the process. And, keep in mind, AT&T also owns DC Comics, Warner Media, HBO Max. This kind of massive loss affects all those companies to the extent where they're like, all right, they're going to have to cut back on some things, but they're not going to make up this $50 billion. This $50 billion is gone. There's no wheeling and dealing they can do. There's no laying off of comic book artists or production people that's going to make up $50 billion. Just not going to happen. A $50 billion loss. Reports first surfaced in late August that AT&T was looking for private equity investors who might be interested in buying DirecTV's satellite TV business. That process has progressed, and the final sale price is expected to be just over $15 billion, according to the New York Post. DirecTV generates earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization of approximately $4.5 billion, and potential buyers are offering 3.5 times that amount. That would translate into an offer of $15.75 billion, according to the report. If AT&T accepts such a low bid, it would lose over $50 billion when factoring in the total that it paid, including for DirecTV's debt that the telecommunications giant is still on the hook for. Now, I don't know how the debt is structured. I would hope that they left the debt with the DirecTV entity somehow, but it doesn't seem like they did. So it seems like they're going to sell it at a massive loss, and they're going to be stuck with the debt on top of that. What a mess. This earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, this $4.5 billion is before day-to-day operating costs, but doesn't include interest on the debt they have to pay, that $18 billion. Doesn't include taxes they have to pay the government. Doesn't include depreciation, meaning the loss of invested assets. Amortization is investments in new assets that they have to make. So basically they're trying to say if we didn't have to make any payments for taxes or interest, or count that our assets are less and less valuable, or try to figure out how to spread out our costs over new asset investments we have to make to run the business and grow the business and do research and development. This includes no research and development expenses, for example. No interest that they have to pay on money they owe. It's terrible. Why would private equity companies be interested in DirecTV? I talked about this in my video from August. Private equity companies, AT&T has done layoffs through the Warner Media unit. They lay off a ton of people, 1,000 people or something. They recently announced, we'll do another video on it, talking about how they were going to lay off even more people, everywhere throughout Warner Media. Not a good company to be working for right now, unfortunately. And but the private equity company guys, when they start looking at laying people off, they're masters of it. They will lay off a lot of people. They don't always do that, but it's in their nature that, they cut expenses like mad. And I am sure that AT&T is going to sell DirecTV. And the reason why is, first of all, if they hold on to it for a year, they'll probably lose $5 to $7 billion just on the valuation of the price of the damn thing. Secondly, owning something, whether it's doing well or not, it takes management attention. You have to run it. You have to pay attention to it. So they're in this business whether they like it or not. So it's less time and energy and resources they can spend otherwise doing something else. There's also opportunity cost, meaning they could be investing not just their time, but also lots of cash in doing other stuff, whatever it is. Even if it was just, let's now spend our energy figuring out, we'll take our big loss on this. Let's figure out how we can get the most possible money for Warner Media. They could spend a year or 2 years doing that and then sell Warner Media, take whatever losses they have to take, and then just move on with their lives. And they're not going out of business, AT&T, but don't buy their stock, for God's sake. This is the different, but keep this in mind when you talk to people about business, or even when you're thinking about business. The difference between an idea and a vision. An idea is something that it's a potential, and ideas are kind of a dime a dozen. A vision is something that's got to be attached. It's that idea, but it's contextualized with a visionary, with an actual entrepreneur, someone who's going to really do the work and turn that vision into a reality. They never had that with these acquisitions at AT&T, and I'm not sure why that didn't freak them out. They just figured, like, well, I guess we'll just get into the business and see how it goes. I mean, they spent something like between AT&T's acquisition of DirecTV, that was $67 billion, and another $109 billion on Warner Media, including all the debt, and it was like, what is it? Almost $200 billion just on give it a shot. How bad could it go? It could go really bad. It's a very competitive industry. So, like, you can't just do it without a visionary to back up a vision. AT&T took on even more debt for its subsequent acquisition of Time Warner, and total debt stood at a whopping $169 billion at the end of the second quarter. Elliott wants AT&T to aggressively pay down debt. That's the investor that took a position with them. And they're lucky that they had this investor pushing them, this Elliott management. They want AT&T to aggressively pay down debt while still preserving its dividend and share repurchases. I don't know how they're going to do that. Potential suitors include Apollo and Platinum Equity Partners, according to the report, and others interested parties are trying to lay out financing for a leverage buyout. But lenders are skeptical about the deal too, since DirecTV continues to hemorrhage subscribers. So what happens also with these private equity guys is they are super slick. So they'll come in, they'll be like, okay, let me see how much free cash flow you have. Okay, fine. Here's what we're going to do. We will lay off a third of these people. We'll outsource the rest of this on top of that. So we'll cut out a huge amount of expenses. That's their plan. They do know how to do that. They're not always successful. But basically the game is, can they have more cash come in and pay off more new debt? Because the private equity guys, Apollo, Platinum, whoever else does this, would actually borrow most of the money to acquire DirecTV for $15.75 billion, and then pay that money back with proceeds from the $4.5 billion a year that the company is supposedly making in this cash flow. But to keep that money working, what they would do is have massive layoffs, increase prices, and then the guys who are taking all the financial risk on this, really, or most of the financial risk, are the people who are willing, banks, big companies, institutional investors, to lend money into the deal. Because if this doesn't work out, the private equity guys, like if it just crashes, they lose too many subscribers, their restructuring plan doesn't work, the private equity guys usually lose like 5 cents on the dollar, if that. They just get the hell out, it's burned, and they're gone. Lately, the last couple of years, they've been putting up as much as 20% into a deal. But for something like this, I don't think they would put up. They would basically just be like, look, we'll try to screw this thing around, see what we can do with it. If we can hustle it and make some money, cool. If not, they will just bankrupt it and throw it into the street and burn it. And so much for the people that lent them the money to do that deal. AT&T doesn't break out DirecTV results, but the subsidiary represents an estimated 80% of total video connections, which stood at 18.4 million at second quarter. Probably doesn't help the AT&T. Yeah, they increased their prices this year at DirecTV 6 months after increasing the prices in late 2019. So they're definitely also going to sell it, because that's the kind of thing you would do, is you'd be like, oh, well, here, our revenues are holding up. We have free cash flow. Look, we have money coming in, this $4.5 billion, because they jack up their prices. And every time you do that, you're like kicking your customer, saying, are you sure you want to keep subscribing? Are you sure you want to keep paying us? It's not going to last. And obviously you can't raise prices every 6 months like that. I mean, there's, especially in the current economic situation, customers are not going to take it. They're going to have more people dumping, the subscription. Telecommunications and media companies have all been aggressively pivoting to over-the-top streaming services. And over-the-top means not part of cable. It means like Netflix is considered over-the-top. Disney Plus is over-the-top. AT&T's own HBO Max, also over the top, that launched early this year. Too much fanfare, grabbing 4.1 million subscribers in the first month alone. Those subscriber additions in a single month, with nearly the 4.5 million video subscribers at AT&T. Yeah. So those additions in a single month do offset the 4.5 million subscribers AT&T lost. But it's apples and oranges. HBO Max is doing okay. It's not doing phenomenal, but it's doing okay. They're lucky to have Jason Kilar, founder of Hulu, in charge of it. But you have to wonder, look, AT&T has millions of its own customers. Why can't they send more of their phone customers to HBO Max? Why can't they use their control of DirecTV to promote aggressively the launch of HBO Max? Because that takes management execution. That's what I was talking before about having a visionary, not just a freaking idea, someone who could execute on a vision. Of the 4.1 million new subscribers from HBO Max, 1 million of them came from AT&T. Their phone customers. The other 3.1 million were hustled up by Jason Kilar and his management team. And from what I've heard, pretty much nothing from DirecTV. Why? Why can't they do that? They can't execute. It's very frustrating. I'm not one to. I don't have any investments in AT&T, and it looks like a mess, to be honest with you. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Can you believe that people can operate their business this crazily, where they'll just make a $67 billion purchase without a serious plan and someone who's proven, who can really do that plan and really make it successful? They just bought it as a gamble. It was like going to Las Vegas and be like, let me take a shot. Why not? It's because it's $67 billion. That's why you don't just take a shot. Tell me what you think about that in the comments below. Also, if you want to support my work, collegethedead.com. You can get a copy of College of the Dead Graduation Day, where college costs you an arm and a leg. It's an ongoing zombie apocalypse series. It's my series. It will, it'll knock your socks off. It's really good. It's really well done. You'll enjoy it. CollegeDead.com. Check out the trailer. Also, EpicMermaids.com. Go there to sign up for The Mermaids. It's an ongoing full-color series. It's going to be it's Game of Thrones meets Mermaids. And it's very, very cool. It's really well done. It's going to be launching October 2020. I'm sure you're going to want to pick that up and check it out. All right, I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.